I'm glad to get together again. Just for
Yeah.
context, Emily and I went to school together, and I saw something on Facebook, as one does, and was like, oh, I would love to bring you on the pod and share your story because I love how you're, advocating for addiction awareness, or substance. I don't know. Let's see what phrase that you used, or like taking down the stigma around surrounding addiction. And so, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you for agreeing to re-record just so it's out there. I also have another chronic mental illness and was in the middle of a medication change and was not putting my best foot forward. So I asked Kristen, hey, would you mind if we could re-record? And she was like, totally. That's awesome. Yeah, we can do that. So I'm grateful to have that kind of opportunity to do so. So thank you
Yeah,
so
well,
much.
I appreciate you speaking up too, because otherwise, like, could have just festered in like the uncomfortability of it instead of just voicing or expressing the desire. Whether it goes one way. Because I thought, I was like, oh, I thought the podcast episode was good, or like, I got or shared some like vulnerable and powerful moments, but I also don't want you to feel uncomfortable and like want to share like what you're comfortable sharing too. And so, and I've had moments where I'm like, oh, that one felt a little edgy or sticky and didn't really like it. And I've re-recorded with someone before too, so I totally get it and resonate. And I'm like, I've had my own mental health roller
Oh, yeah.
coaster ride, so can totally relate.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's something that I'm learning about. I used to use alcohol to kind of regulate my mood, and 4 years out, I don't have that anymore. So, I guess the alcohol finally all got out of my body really around 2023. And so now we're trying to figure out, what does normal look like?
Mm.
What is my actual personality? And
Mm.
that's been the kicker. It's, what am I really like? Because
Mm.
for so long, I had big emotions. Well, that's just Emily. She has big emotions. But no, turns out Emily had big emotions for a completely different reason.
Mm.
So who is Emily? Is she kind? I hope so. Is
Mm.
she, who am I? And that has been an interesting journey so far.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be a rediscovery process or like a
Almost definitely.
discovery. I have big emotions too, and I think I definitely used to numb them or they scared me. Now I see them as a gift or like the tenderness as a gift,
Right.
and like some I obviously favor over the other ones when I'm like
Yeah.
big joy.
Yeah. Joy is good. Big sadness is not good. So it's like,
What did you say? I missed it.
big joy is good, big sadness not so good. So it's like, how do we make it to where they are at an equilibrium? Because
Mm.
you have to, because if you're too happy all the time, that could be a problem, and if you're too sad
Mm.
all the time, that is also a problem. So it's like, where is the middle of this? Like, you know, who is Emily? And it's like you said, a self discovery process. And I think I turned 37 this year. I don't really know. I'm not very good at math,
We do.
but we turned 37 this year.
We do.
Okay. 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 So it's like at 37, in my late 30s, now that I'm not drinking all the time and I'm, a working professional and a mom of two and a wife, like, who am I actually? And that
Mhm.
has been a very interesting journey, to say the least. Still on
Yeah.
it, and I don't think I'm ever going to get off the who am I train.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, it can be like as, philosophical, existential as you want. Sometimes I'm like, who am I? Am I
Why am
Kristen?
I?
Or am I the deep-seated awareness underneath this, observing my thoughts and actions and emotions? I've been leaning into like, even though I don't really like the sadness or the anger, as much as I do like the joy or, higher elevated states. I've been leaning into like just seeing it as a sacred too. It's like I feel like I came in to have this human experience and the full range of that is the anger, is the sadness. There's divinity within that too, or like a pearl that I can find. However, there, like, it's kind of like a delicate balance for me anyway, as far as, okay, I'm seeing that I am self-isolating here, how can I reincorporate some things that, get some more movement and
Right.
motion, like, or how can I best support myself or nourish myself in this moment? And like maybe that's movement or going outside or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to stay there. Yeah.
Cause I could be very comfortable staying in I call it the sad garden, where it's like little pansy that's like, "Burr, burr, burr." Like I could live there. I could live there and never come out, but that's not fair to my kids. It's not fair to my husband, and it's not fair to me either.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, you have to get outside and move. You're in bed, but you're still working. But you have to get out of bed, you have to work, you have to go to workout class and be around people because
Mm-hmm.
people like myself, it's just really easy to stay in the sad garden, so to speak.
Yeah, I think we have to reset our emotional or our base point or our baseline. Or like what is familiar to our nervous system. Well, if or sadness is familiar or chaos, like I know a lot of some of my friends, and I know in my past I have totally like thrived in chaotic environments
Oh
or
yeah.
attracted like really chaotic experiences. Well, that's because I feel like they're, growing up and, yelling or arguing and or like chaotic environments. That's what I was used to. That's what in some ways felt safe,
Oh yeah.
even though like I would much prefer the peaceful
Well,
alternative.
you go after what you know, right?
Mhm.
Like, and I grew up in a house where there was yelling,
Mm.
and there was, my dad used to give this speech, and if he ever listens to this, which I highly doubt he will. I don't know, Dad, if you're listening. Hi. He used to give us this speech about the haves and the have-nots, and
Mm.
the have-nots made 85s on their spelling tests, and they never got into college. So I have like really tried to not pass that on to my oldest, even though
Mm.
he is incredibly smart. We live in Katy, which is a Houston suburb, and he figured out how to get around the Katy ISD firewall to watch YouTube
Wow.
videos. I know. I'm like, girl, I live in like probably if not the best, like second best school district in the state. Like Katy
Mhm.
ISD is famous for its schools. And he figured out that if he put a YouTube embedded link in Google Docs, he could watch any YouTube video he wanted and get around the firewall. Yeah, and
Wow.
he's 9. So it kills me when he comes home with an 85 on something, and
Mhm.
I email his teacher. I'm like, "What happened here?" He just didn't read all the questions. He wanted to get done so he could read. Like, "You little nerd." Like, "You nerd, like, you could have made 100 on this science project. You just decided just to, like, circle random things, and you still guessed and read half the question and made an 85." A part of me is a little proud, but, like, "Hey,
Mhm.
you can do better." It's trying, to go back is try not to put
Mm.
those things that we experienced as kids on
For
my
sure.
kids. And I've actually noticed, I've been a little edgy recently and maybe have screamed "stop it" a little too often at my kids because they're 9 and 3, and they poke at each other all the time because the 3-year-old thinks he's 9 too. And I was just, "Stop it, stop it, stop it." And all of a sudden both of my boys, Brody and Brady, just started yelling "stop it" at each other.
Mm.
I'm like, "Oh, I'm setting such a bad parent example, but at least I'm not telling them they're going to be homeless if they make an 85 on their spelling test." Like, you know, like, okay, but it's funny how our kids are sometimes a reflection of ourselves, and
Oh, for sure. I
sometimes
mean,
that's a
shoot,
good reflection.
I see my dog as a reflection of
Oh yeah.
myself. I think the kids
Oh
totally
yeah.
are. And, like, I mean, it's a yeah, that's I could see how
Well,
that's a challenging.
I don't know about your dog, but if I have anybody new coming in the house, my dog, he's 13 years old now, or he's about to be 14. I don't know, he's old. But anyway, if there's somebody new coming in the house and I'm a little apprehensive, he goes
Mm.
into full little dog attack mode. He's a miniature schnauzer. He only
Oh,
weighs 15 pounds, but he's going to grab a hold of that person's like shoe, and they're not going to go anywhere,
yeah. No, we
you
just
know?
had, I mean, it scared me. Like it literally, only, it really did. So my neighbor next door, has a big dog, ferocious bark. And Boudreaux is so small that he can crawl underneath the gate and he's adorable, but sometimes he thinks he's that dog size.
Oh yeah.
And he's like 5.5 months, so he's still learning. And I've been training, but I want to get like an extended training with like a professional
A real
because
trainer.
I'm
Yeah.
like, he has a mind of his own, kind of like me, but also. So we were outside, and I was like throwing something, and then my neighbor said that, "Don't worry, my dog is friendly." And so I let Boudreaux run and go say hi. He's been going to daycare and being socialized, and I'm
Right.
taking some steps. But then the next thing I know, I guess like Boudreaux had like maybe a little stance. And then the next thing I know that he's on his back and the big dog has him in his mouth. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going to get punctured. And then I'm like rushing over to try and separate them. And then he's coming over and he's like, oh my God, my dog's never done this. I'm so sorry. And so we had like, I was like, took Boudreaux inside and he was like shivering and shaking. He was like, oh my God.
Like,
And I don't
I
know.
just saw your life flash before my
Yeah, I
eyes.
did. It had like I did have the mom moment of flipping the truck over
Oh
because I
yeah.
didn't even think about getting bit by a dog. I was just like,
Oh
save
yeah.
Joel.
Save the dog. Oh yeah.
Save the
No,
dog.
that is
Yeah.
what happens, especially when you have a new little puppy.
Mhm.
You gotta yeah, I have those moments all the time, and my dog is still he's 13 years old.
Yeah.
And
No, I mean, it's been interesting. I've noticed, and we mentioned mirror too, and I noticed that if I feel frazzled, like that little shithead is gonna be running all over and like biting things. But I remember I consciously like went to take a bath one time and it's like, okay, I'm gonna reset my energy and I'm stepping out of this tub grounded and just like in a more calm, energetic state. He reflected that to me. Like he just snuggled up next to me. I was sitting like kind of in front of the couch and he just like was so chill. I was like, oh my God, that he is my mirror.
yeah.
All that to say though, too, that I think that your son, like that shows some ingenuity and cleverness to
Oh
get
yeah.
around the rules. Cause there's a part of me that is totally a rebel. I'm like, go.
Oh yeah.
But also at the same
Same.
time, I understand. I just wrote a little piece about how I thought that I had to earn my love or my parents' pride because I got rewarded for the good grades and that sort of thing. And then like, you know, believe that stories can transcend time because my dad died in 2013, but I have this little booklet that he gave me. And even though he did reward me for the grades and like encourage that, one of the questions in there was like, what's the most proud or what's the moment in life that made you the most proud? And it said, that would be the moment that you and your brother were born. I was like, I
Oh.
had this like crying, laughing moment of, oh my
Yeah.
God, I've been working for something my entire life and I've had it since birth.
And you didn't need to earn it, like it was already
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, but I don't know how I would even begin to parent.
Oh,
That just seems like such a big
it's just
ask.
something you learn on the go, honestly, because we didn't I know we were in the same home ec class, but they didn't teach it. They
Were
taught us how
we?
to yeah, Miss
Okay. Yeah. I did not. What I remember about home ec is what do you remember about home ec?
I remember do you remember Lindsay Boykin?
Oh my God. Yeah. Lindsay and I still talk to
Okay.
this day.
So we were talking about hair, like shampoo and conditioner, and Lindsay was very adamant that you had to condition your hair every day. And
Mm.
then Miss Roach was like, "No, you don't." And she was like, "Yes, you do." So for some reason, I remember that vividly. I don't know why, but like and we watched these videos in that class that were very dated. They were from easily the late 80s. I mean, and I remember that, and I remember we attempted to cook, and
See, that's
like
what I remember.
it was very questionable. It was highly questionable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember that because the recipe that I was making said stir by hand. And so I was in there like with my fingers, like stirring something by
Oh,
hand. And I guess Miss Roach came over and she's like, Kristen, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm stirring by hand. She's like, knit with a spoon. And I'm like, oh,
oh.
yeah,
Well,
about this. I don't even know really why I'm in this home ec class.
we were like 14, 15. Like, well, it was either that or you had to take ag, and I didn't want to take ag. You know,
Okay. I probably should have taken ag. Now, looking back, I could have had some really cool like woodworking or skills in my tool belt or, it would have been, I don't know.
that was before like having your own kitchen chicken coop was cool. Like, we were about 20 years late on that trend.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, but all those, if you think about it now, all those kids that showed chickens and things when we were in high school, like they know how to build a chicken coop. They could probably like make money doing that
I mean,
as
especially with
adults.
egg prices these days, man.
Oh
I went to the
gosh,
grocery
girl.
store the other morning and I usually, I mean, a lot of times, like I order my groceries or just out of convenience. And I'm like, okay, what's my burn rate? Is it more efficient for me to spend my time and energy to go to the grocery store or just order it? And obviously, I like pleasure and comfort as I'm in bed recording this. But
Exactly.
I went, I was like, $7 for the organic,
Oh, the
farm,
fancy
whatever.
organic brown eggs
Vital
or whatever.
Farms. Yeah. I'm like, what
Yeah.
the? I was like, $7 for some.
I know. It's like I could buy 7 energy drinks because, like, actually, you could probably buy 3. You could buy 3 Alani Nus for the price of this carton of eggs.
I'm
Like,
like,
it doesn't make any sense.
dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in
Okay.
my boy sorry.
Yeah. Oh no,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I just
Yeah.
want to say I'm like, I don't want to skip over your story. I was like, I feel like I could talk to
Oh, yeah.
you about anything for a long time, but I want to definitely like hone in on like your story or your arc of transformation about the alcohol and
Oh,
how it
yeah.
was maybe a suppressant of emotions or rediscovering your personality or who you are today without that, because it totally is like a social lubricant and it's
Mhm.
so embedded in our culture. To me, that raises a flag. It's like, if it's so promoted, like, why does big government, why do they want you numbed out? Or why do they want you
Right.
not in touch with yourself or your power, or your emotions, or that sort of thing? I kind of like go into like a little
Oh, yeah.
conspiracy.
I go and I wear the whole tin hat when I, like, think about it, because next time you go to the grocery store and you pick up a bottle of, Pinot Grigio, there will be no ingredients listed on that label. It's just, "Look at this pretty label, it's wine." Like, there's no ingredients listed. So
True.
you have no real idea what you're putting in your body.
That's true, and it's not just grapes.
No, no, there's other things in there. There's,
Mhm.
sulfates and I don't know. I bet there's some red dye 40 in there, that all the kids are allergic to now.
Yeah.
Like, I bet that's in there. So
Wow.
you can't, don't trust them. Tap them.
Wow. Yeah, no. That's interesting. That is interesting. I think I saw something floating around on the internet advocating for nutrition labels on alcohol or
There should
booze.
be.
I'm
Well,
like,
now the Surgeon General, and I think that's the right title, they're trying to get black box labels on
"Mm,
alcohol
mm,
because it's been linked to 7 types of cancer. It's funny, I don't know if you've ever done any sort of like breast cancer awareness walks or you
mm,
buy the little cups and it's like wine for tatas. Well, alcohol
mm."
actually could contribute to getting breast cancer. So you should not put wine in your tata glass.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I've never done any walks, but closely familiar with it, as a client of mine has walked that journey. And thankfully come out the other side. And then even my neighbor the other day had like a benign tumor in his breast.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
That's
mhm.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, if I even have to just go back on the feedback that I feel after I have a couple glasses of wine, I don't feel good. So I'm
No.
like, why
No, it's
continue to do that?
it's legit poison. That's why nobody feels good, and we're chasing the high with alcohol, and that's what it was for me. I had such terrible anxiety while I was in
Mm,
college. I didn't feel like I belonged there because I was at Baylor, and at Baylor is not like Mount Vernon. Like,
mm.
nobody there. You know, everybody there. They have a car that works. They have, their uncle doesn't have meth mouth. Like, like it's a very different environment. And you know exactly what I'm talking
I
about too.
do. I
You know
do. No,
exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Like
Maybe they just hide it. There's a part of me that's
maybe
like,
exactly.
they have some things, but or like the stories that we tell ourselves, right?
Right, right. Oh yeah. And when you're 18, 19 and you're
Mhm.
from rural Texas and you're living in Waco, which you think is a
Mhm.
big city because they have
Mhm.
a mall,
I
like,
mean, I totally
you
thought that way
know,
when I went to Tyler.
oh, yeah, they had a Dillard's in town, and you
Yeah,
didn't have to
yeah.
drive an hour to get there, like, it was
Mhm.
oh my gosh, it was so big, but I didn't think I belonged there, so I
Mm,
just drank all the time, and in order to do homework, in order to write papers, I would just drink, like Boone's Farm, it was 99¢, and I would talk some upperclassman in my sorority to buy it for me, and
mm.
I would just drink it. I would literally put it in either a water burger or a Sonic cup with a bunch of ice, pour it in there, and just like sip and write papers
Wow. I
and
mean, how do
some
you have
math
the
homework.
focus? I mean, how did you have the focus to finish
Well,
the
it's
paper?
crazy is that I was so amped up about, like, starting it, like,
Mm,
"Oh my gosh, I'm never gonna be able to finish this. I'm so stupid. Why am I here? Existential crisis when you're 19 years
mm,
old. Why am I here? I'm not good enough to be here. Nobody loves me. If I fail, I'm a disappointment, and I'm gonna,
mm,
the haves and the have-nots are coming. I have
mm,
to get an A." But what the alcohol did was it made my mind stop working, like, with the anxiety, and I was able to
okay.
focus and be like, I think that biochemical engineering, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
So that's what did it. And I was successful at it for many years. I was able to churn out term papers and do math homework and get all A's. Had 4 semesters where I think I got like a 4 point straight. So like I was able to do it. But if I had the coping mechanisms I learned about recently, I probably could have saved myself years of active addiction.
Yeah.
But yeah, I drank a lot in college to just cope with anxiety. I had some other things happen too, but I don't want to go down that road. But
Mhm.
I just had some crazy, not crazy, but just I had a lot of anxiety issues.
Like some
And
traumatic environments or something.
yeah,
But you didn't drink at all in high school, did you?
no, no, because
Okay.
I was afraid I was gonna get caught, and then I would go to jail and be the ultimate disappointment to my parents.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
remember. I mean, I don't think I didn't remember seeing you at any of the pastor parties. But which even like I remember like going to like one of my first ones and like, Kristen, what are you doing here? Like, I
Like,
like
I
the
don't
fun.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and when I'm just be honest, I was not cool enough to be invited to the pastor parties. I was not in that group. I Yeah, looking back in high school when I don't think I had acquaintances. I didn't have a lot of friends. I
Mm,
had acquaintances because
mhm.
we lived out of town. We lived on a farm. I had stuff I had to do. And my parents had me in every extracurricular activity known to man.
Mm,
Like
mhm.
I showed steers through the 4-H club. I was in basketball. I was in UIL. I had younger siblings I had to help take care of. Like I was busy. I didn't have time for friends. There was no
Mhm.
downtime. And I honestly think that was one of the reasons why college was so weird to me because you could go hang out with people. You didn't have to go feed your steer at five
Mhm.
o'clock in the morning. It's like, what do you do? Like,
Mm,
who are these kids from Dallas? I can't relate with them. You know, they sleep until 9 o'clock. Like, what is this?
mm,
You should be up at 7:30 going to the gym. Like, what is wrong with you?
mm,
And looking back now, like they had it figured out. You didn't have to be the first one at the gym in the morning. Like it's fine. The gym is
mhm,
always going to be there.
mhm.
But yeah, but I drank pretty much in college to deal with anxiety. And when I got married, my husband and I got married 90 days after college graduation,
Wow.
FYI. Yeah. Yeah. I don't recommend that for anybody, but I wanted to get married. So I did. And we did. I guess it takes two people. But we got married and he had a job and this is probably going to date us, but he made $45,000 a year and we thought we were rich. We thought we were so rich. We had all this money, aka we had $500 in our bank account, which meant we could go to a couple of the bars in uptown Dallas and we could get several drinks and it'd be under $150 and we would still have money in our account to pay our electric bill. And that's all you care about at 23, 24
Mhm.
is like what can you do when you're out with your friends? And we turned into little weekend warriors. We were just drinking and having a good time. And for me, when I crossed the line into from just casual, I would call it weekend warrior, and that's kind of the term that a lot of people use when
Mhm.
you just party hard on the weekends. When I crossed the line into flirting with full on addiction after my son was born, Brody, when he was little, I was a stay at home mom. And so my well meaning pediatrician, when he was a newborn, I wasn't making enough milk for him. And she told me, well, if you drink a dark beer, that'll help you produce more milk because of the yeast or something. I don't know. I just heard dark beer drink. It's like, okay, I can do that. So I would drink too
Mm-hmm.
and help with milk production. And then when he was down for his nap, it's 11:30, you can still make brunch for yourself at your house. So I would make bacon, eggs, and toast and have two mimosas because why not? And then I'm making dinner. I'm going to make myself a cocktail or have a glass of wine. Oh, my husband's home. I'm going to make him, a drink, and I'm going to make myself one. And then we're going to have a nightcap.
Mm-hmm.
So I was drinking 6, 7, 8 drinks a day for about a year and wondered why I couldn't lose weight. Why is my postpartum body not, why am I not
Mm-hmm.
bouncing back like, all the celebrities on TV? Why am I not doing all that? But I drank like that for a while and for years actually. But when I went back to work, I obviously wasn't drinking on the job. That would not be good. But I was still having 3, 4, 5 drinks a night at home.
Yeah.
Real, kind of close, probably like closer to 3 or 4, which I think once you hit, I can't remember the exact number of drinks that the government tells you, but when I was definitely over that amount of weekly consumption, I was definitely over that for many years. Then we moved to Houston. That was a whole nother set of stressors. But the great thing about Houston is we have all these breweries with playgrounds.
Mm.
So it's very easy to go and get beer and pizza and have your kid like jump off the top of the playground. It's fine. You know,
Question: how long did y'all wait to have kids?
we waited 5 years.
Okay.
I know people that they started trying on their honeymoon. That just was not for us. We wanted to travel, which did we travel? No, because we drank all of our money away. We knew that we didn't want to have kids right away because we were still trying to figure out who we were. We didn't know if we wanted to have kids. For a while, we thought, no, we're not going to have kids. We're just going to be that cool aunt and uncle type person
Mm-hmm.
that, maybe when my siblings have kids, we'll just spoil them.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw everyone else starting to have kids, and our friends from church, they were having kids, and they looked cute, and they newborn babies, they smell so good, and I told my husband, well, Scott, let's just try for a couple of months and see what happens. And I stopped taking my birth control pills, and we were pregnant within a month. I actually ran a half marathon pregnant and didn't know it.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought I was just throwing up because I was nervous or, had
Oh,
butterflies.
wow.
No, there was
Wow.
a baby in there.
Yeah.
There was a legit baby in there. So Brody was in there. He was there. And yeah, wouldn't change it
Again,
for the
when
world
women are
though.
resilient, I mean, people
Oh
are
yeah.
too. I mean, men are too. I'm just like, they like
Oh yeah.
just all the
Cause
things.
like I literally was throwing up at the start line. I was like, oh, I'm just nervous. No, no, I was like 10 weeks pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the things that we do when we look back, it's like, oh my gosh, how did I survive that?
Yeah. And then I didn't mean to like
Oh
interrupt
no,
you or
you're fine.
anything, but just going, so you went back to work
Yeah.
and then we're still drinking. What escalated it after that?
So COVID
Mm.
was a big, so I will say there's two things. Where we happen to move in Houston, it's a very family friendly area. Even the bars
Yeah.
are family friendly.
Yeah.
Like they have kids menus and kids drinks, and it's very family oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really easy to go to the brewery, get some drinks, have him play on the playground,
Yeah.
or go. There's legitimate bars here that are designed for parents. So it was very easy to do. So I could try all the new beers that I wanted or all the new wines, and they had a whole play area for little kids. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about now. But what pushed me further over was COVID.
Mm.
We were all working from home. It was not fun because I happened at the time to have a pretty stressful job. I was a workers' comp claims adjuster. So
Oh,
nobody's
wow.
happy. Yeah, nobody's did that for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody's happy when they are hurt. Nobody's happy when they're hurt at work.
Mm-hmm.
And people definitely were not happy during a pandemic. So there was that, and not being in the office to talk about like, oh, they just injured worker. Or he just told me blah 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 blah. Like there, you didn't have your coworkers there to talk to.
Mm.
So in order to deal with the stress of that, I would just I order the groceries in this house. I do all of that. So I just would order bottles of wine. And at one point I was going through about 4 bottles a
Mm.
day, usually realistically about one and a half a day.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could, after log off your computer at 4 p.m., fill up this size glass with some wine. That's a significant chunk of the bottle. And then, cooking dinner, fill that up. Fill it up after, during dinner, fixing dinner, after dinner, drink a whole bottle.
Yeah.
And there were times on the weekends where it would be 4 bottles because we couldn't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So we just give Brody his iPad, or I'd wait till my husband went to sleep and I'd sneak out of our room and pop open a bottle of red wine and just watch Netflix by myself because I couldn't deal with being at home, not alone because he was here too, but it was a very stressful time, as it was for everybody in the country.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredibly stressful.
I had an
I
interesting
guess,
experience with COVID. There was always something from the beginning that was like, there's just something that feels off here as far
Mhm.
as like massive restrictions. And I'm not big on like having like freedom restricted. And so at some point I stopped watching the news, and I was very lucky to have been on like with my, in my ex relationship or ex partner. We were out on like 8 acres in nature.
Okay.
It was very peaceful. In some ways, like for me, it was like an introvert's dream as far as like, okay, I don't have to go out and I got the time. I had always said, I'm like, I just want the time to dedicate to writing a book. And I'm like, well, okay, well, I guess I have that time now.
Right.
But it was like a magnifying glass on our relationship. And we ended up breaking up at the end of 2020.
Oh, wow.
So it was challenging in some ways, but in some ways I didn't feel as, I don't know, stressed or as, yeah, as I hear a lot of people have, or I didn't have the same experience.
Yeah.
I was trying not to let the outside stressors influence my internal state as much, but it's just a good reminder for me that my experience isn't the universal experience.
Yeah. Well, and
But
it's different when you have when you're in the suburbs and
mhm,
trying to work while the daycare shut down.
yeah, that's challenging. And like,
And it
or
was,
do you have to like teach as well at all, or
yeah, no,
yeah.
Brody wasn't quite old enough for that, but
Mm,
they shut the daycare down for 3 weeks almost.
yeah,
And so, but you're still expected to work and produce and everything. So he turned into an iPad kid for about a
yeah.
month. And so the way we could get back in daycare, the state of Texas sent out this mandatory form where if you wanted to send your kids to daycare, you had to be an essential worker.
Um,
And they put financial services as being
oh, yeah.
essential, and insurance is financial. So
Yeah.
we that's how we got him back in.
Mhm.
And there were hardly any kids there, so he had the run of the place.
Yeah. And I
So
totally don't blame you for any of that. I mean, like, do what you gotta
yeah,
do.
yeah. Now, was it the best? No, but he turned, I guess when he turned 4 was around, I'm so bad with like numbers and times and places, but like during the COVID time, he learned how to read because
Mhm.
there was nothing else to do. Like he was four
Mm,
and a half and he was learning sight words.
mm.
And so, which is a blessing now,
He
except for
loves
him,
to read.
like he
Yeah.
loves to read, he loves to create. He also loves to try to get around firewalls, but that's okay.
Yeah, I was about to say,
You know?
he was getting creative to get to that book, those pages. And,
Yeah,
I mean, I love to hear
exactly.
it, that young kids are wanting to read. Love to hear that actually, because
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
part of me that's afraid of like our attention span these days and like just, like the value of words in a book. And so it's
Oh,
just
yeah,
near and
most
dear to my
definitely.
heart. No, I'm curious, did it just continue to escalate, or was there like a moment that shifted, or was like an all is lost type of moment, or like a rock bottom type of moment
It
that
was
pivoted like your
it was
trajectory?
actually it was a religious experience, and that's
Mm,
the best way I know how to describe it. Scott and I were on our 10-year wedding anniversary trip in Denver, Colorado. It's January 2021. Everything's kind of opening a little bit, sort of, not really. but we
Mhm.
got a really good deal on plane ticket. On Southwest, it was like $200,
Mhm.
and we got a penthouse hotel in Denver, which would normally be something like $1,000 a night. We got it
Mhm.
for $300. So it's like, when else would we get this? But we went out. We were there for about a week. My in-laws watched Brody so we could do what we needed to do, go out and have a good
Yeah.
time. But we went out this one particular day, and I had at least 13 drinks that day, at least, probably more. But we got back to the hotel, and I told my husband, I don't feel good. I think I'm going to be sick. And we happened to, this hotel room was so big, it had two bathrooms. And he was like, well, I'm going to take this one. You take this one. I'm like, okay, okay, okay. And as one does when they are incredibly intoxicated, I just started vomiting and vomiting. And at some point, I passed out.
Mm.
And I woke up and I couldn't really move my head. I was like, what is going on here? And vomit had dried in my hair and had like made me it acted as a glue. And I was stuck to the bathroom floor because it's Denver. It's cold there. Things
Yeah.
freeze,
Yeah. Oh.
so I was like, what is going on here? I can't get up. So I had to like take my hand and like shivvy the vomit
Mhm.
out. And I stood, I sat up and I looked. And if I had fallen a little bit differently, I would have fallen head first into the toilet and
Mm.
probably asphyxiated on my own vomit and toilet bowl
Wow.
water.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? I stood up, was really wobbly, stood up, held onto the sink, and I just looked at myself. And then I heard this voice and it said, are you done yet?
Mm.
And I was like, yeah. It's like, are you done yet? It's like, and then I realized, like, oh my gosh, God is talking to me.
Yeah.
This is God. God is talking to me. My goodness. And so I said, yes, I'm done. And if you'll help me get over this,
Mhm.
I'll help other people. And that was January 8th of 2021.
Wow.
And so I've celebrated my 4 years.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been this whole journey of, how am I going to help other people? What does that look like? And have I been tempted to drink? Heck yeah. Life's hard. I have two kids now,
Yeah.
not just one. And like the second one, he's developmentally delayed. Like, he is
Mhm.
not like normal. He's not a super genius like my first kid. Maybe he will be some sort of super genius. I don't know. But like, he's 3. But
Mhm.
like it has not been easy.
Mhm.
In 2024, I had basically a mini break from reality. Like, I saw things that didn't exist and heard things that didn't exist. I had a medication malfunction. That's the best way I know how to put it.
Mhm.
And I'm lucky to be alive.
Mm.
And like, that was my 2024. Lucky to be alive. And 2023 was hard too. We lost people in 2024. My father-in-law died. My
Mhm.
grandmother died. Our dog even died. We had 2
Mm.
dogs and now we only have 1.
Mhm.
Like, it's but the story of how I got sober is always compelling, but it's what has happened since.
I was about to ask, like, I'm
Yeah.
curious about, like, maybe the first step that you took, or like, did you find support, or did you like go to
Yeah.
AA, or what were your
So,
like tools, or that first just stumbling step, that you
uh,
take when you make that decision, at that
the fir
pivotal moment, like, okay, I'm going to walk this different life
yeah.
path.
Well, when we were in the not elevator, in the airport to come home, I was notorious for needing at least 2 margaritas to get on the
Mhm.
plane. I'm not a and during COVID, the way I kind of, in order to get on the plane to go to Denver, I thought I needed 2 margaritas to kill the COVID, with the alcohol
Mhm.
killing it. Yeah. And my husband was like, are you sure you don't want to drink before you get on the plane? I was
Mhm.
like, no, no, I'm sober now. I'm sober. And he was like, okay. And while our plane got delayed, and while we were sitting there waiting, I started Googling sobriety books.
Mm.
And I read Alan Carr's The Easy Way to Stop Drinking. It's a
Mm.
pretty famous series. He wrote a book called The Easy Way to Stop Smoking, and that he's a recovery specialist. And so I listened to that book the entire way home. And basically the book talks you out of drinking.
Mm.
And it's It's very fascinating. And I also read another book. It's called Quit Like a Woman. And it's by a lady, and I can't remember her name, and I can never remember it when I'm talking. But she tells, it's about her own sobriety story, her journey. But she kind of hit on some facts that made me very angry at big
Holly Whitaker.
alcohol. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've Googled it.
Very good book. Perfect book. But she told this, there's a story in there of how the suffragettes, in order to get the right to vote, they thought they needed to be a man, like be a
Mm,
man, right? We need to vote. We need to be a man. We need to be like men. We're just as powerful as they are. And one of the ways they did that was they had a smoke out. They all had cigars and cigarettes. It's like, look at us. We're just like you. We can smoke. That doesn't make any logical sense. But that's what they assumed masculinity. And so much of drinking, go to the bar with your coworker, be a man, get
mm,
the whiskey, be a man. Oh, you're watching your figure, get the White Claw. It's fine. So realizing that a giant marketing team was out to poison me and my friends bugged me. And I
mm.
decided, like, no, I am legitimately done with this, because some man and some marketing team in Los Angeles, California can't tell me what to put in my body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then so from
Oh, and
there,
I tried to go to AA,
yeah.
but a lot of the AAs were virtual at the time.
Oh,
And
wow. Yeah.
yeah, and then the idea of like talking to someone at like random strangers over a Zoom call
Yeah.
was not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I read a lot of books. I tried to find an in-house treatment facility to go to. I thought that would be a good idea, but they didn't have any in Katy.
Mm,
Because if you think about it, if you live in the suburbs in a nice, shiny, big house, do you want a alcohol and substance use treatment facility in your neighborhood or within 25 miles of you?
mm,
No, you
mm,
don't. So there were no places to go. There wasn't really a big support group.
mm-hmm.
So I read books.
Yeah.
I read the Bible 3, 4 times. Had no idea what half of it meant, because it's wasn't written recently. It was written a couple of thousand years ago. So I was kind of had no context really. And I'm someone that grew up going to church, and I was a Christian at that, still am, always will be. But like I had no context of some of this stuff and didn't even think to like study, like get another resource to interpret. But I was just
Mm,
reading. I was like, okay, this King David guy, he talks to God about everything in Psalms. Like he's even telling him about like in how dark his soul is. Like my soul's real dark too. I should talk to God about my dark soul. So that's really what I did is I read books. I read the Bible, and I also had a really great group of girlfriends
mm-hmm.
who I told them, "Hey, I'm not drinking anymore." And they're like, "Okay." And then I don't think they believed me either, but 'cause I was the party girl, like, "Yeah, let's go drinking." But they were really supportive, and when we went out, they were like, "Okay, we'll go find the mocktail list for you."
Well, that's
Well,
sweet.
like they were very, very supportive, and they've continued to
Yeah,
be very
that's
supportive.
respectful. Like I've had
Yeah.
a couple of bouts where I'm not totally like not drinking. Like I'm very intentional though, than versus in my younger 20s. Like if I want to like savor a tequila, like I'll have a tequila, but there's like a conscious intention,
Yeah.
with it. It's not like I'm drinking to blackout anymore. But there's been times in my life where I'll go extended periods of time where I'm not drinking. And there have been moments where people have either like still tried to like force or urge me to drink. And
Right.
it just seems like very disrespectful of
And it's so
my choice.
annoying.
And I'm
So
like,
annoying.
I don't care if you're drinking.
Right.
That's what you're putting into your body. This is my choice though. And can you just respect that? So I just
Yeah.
thought it illuminated like who was supportive or who maybe I was a mirror to the amount that they were drinking. Like my
Oh,
choice
yeah.
to not like made them question something, or maybe um, something came to the surface that they didn't want to question,
Oh, yeah.
you know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, most
So that's good that
definitely.
you had that support group that would find the mocktails. I still like finding a good mocktail
Oh,
now. I
yeah.
mean, I
Well,
try
and
to
there's
not, I'm
so
like, some of them I'm
many.
like, is that just all sugar?
Well,
But
and there's so many great now, like I call them non-alcoholic, like ritual, and I can't. They're like non-alcoholic liquors, which I'm like, this is
yeah, there's
weird.
like a non-alcoholic tequila now. I want to try
Yeah,
it.
now they make a Tanqueray Zero, which
Mm-hmm.
we were in Europe, and I that's when I tried it, and it was a little too close to gin because gin
Okay.
was my drug of choice back in the
Really,
day.
gin. So, like,
Yeah,
I remember, so when I was a bartender, someone told me, like, oh, if you drink just gin, you will not have a hangover. I experimented and I tried that. That was like lies,
lies,
lies. I can
lies.
like, yeah. So was it too it was too similar, the
Was
taste or
like
smell or something?
the taste was way too similar, and
Okay, yeah.
I actually took it back and I asked them, I was like, I had my husband go and watch them make the drink
Oh wow. Okay,
because I was like, "Can you go watch them
just to
make
make
this?"
sure. Yeah,
And he was like, "Yeah, they used the one that said Tanqueray Zero." I was like, I can't drink this. It's
yeah,
too similar. Can't do it."
yeah.
Um, but there's been a couple. But what's funny is I'll try something like that, or like in a non-alcoholic beer, maybe like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a party, I'll have a non-alcoholic beer, and someone will go, "Oh, well, has 0.5 or under, so you're really
Mm-hmm.
not sober." Really? Really, I'm not. Really, this is literally there's 0.5% alcohol in like everything.
Yeah. Like, what about
Like,
kombucha?
yeah. Oh, I had somebody tell me that because I, like, drank kombucha once. I tried it. It was I think it tasted like butt, but, not my
Yeah.
forte. If you like it, that's fine. But somebody was like, "Well, it has trace amounts of alcohol in it. You're not sober anymore." I'm like, "Really?"
Wow.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Interesting that they'll discredit your whole journey and commitment from
Yeah.
that. And to me, it's just a
Yeah.
reflection of like where they are, who they are. But
Oh, most
still, it's like,
definitely.
how are you going to come at me like that? I'm curious, like, what are some of the biggest shifts that you've noticed since not drinking?
I'm a much better wife and mother.
Mm.
I know what's going on with my sons. Now there's 2 of them sons.
Yeah.
And, like, I know I can pick up on things. One thing that was really hard to reflect back on was how much time we let Brody have with his iPad
Mm.
because I was too hungover to take care of him.
Hmm.
We had to deal with breaking up with the iPad,
Mm.
and if I was still drinking like I was, he would be completely inert in love with the iPad and would not like books as much as he does.
Mm.
So that was a rude awakening. And also I'm more present with my friends.
Mm.
I can tell when they're struggling with something.
Mm.
I'm more open with them. They know when I'm having a hard time too. So that's completely different. And I've actually lost a good amount of weight too. The
Mm.
vanity comes in right here. I've lost about 80 pounds since I stopped
Wow.
drinking. Yeah. And it's just I'm not taking in excess calories anymore.
Yeah.
And if don't, if you watch what you eat, and I don't like to say it like that, but if you think about I don't know about you, but when I drink or used to drink, I would also eat large amounts of queso, ketos from Whataburger. Anything from Whataburger is better when you're drunk. So is Taco Bell. So, like, I'm not doing that anymore. And I haven't done that for many years.
Mm-hmm.
So my body, I guess, in a way, has healed itself, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not doing that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the natural consequence of not taking 10,000 calories every day
Wow.
is you weigh less. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's totally fine to like and appreciate your body, post not drinking. I mean, like, I don't even know if I'd call it vanity. It's just like, hey, I like my body better. It's help confidence level or
Right.
like, and, um, but whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and like, if you want to call it that, or it's fine. I just think that whatever helps you like have that, like a better relationship with your body. I know that's something that I've like battled with, at different times in my life. It's like, whether it's dysmorphia or just like having a harsh, like self-judgment around my body.
Yeah. Well, it's a
Um,
part of being a woman too, right? Like you and I grew up in the era of Britney Spears and Christina
yeah.
Aguilera,
And
and
was it heroin chic?
they yeah, they were they were like this thin,
Yeah.
you couldn't one of Britney's performances showed up on my TikTok feed. It was about like
Mhm.
how her dancers helped her keep her clothes on. It's because her bottoms were about this big. No
Yeah.
wonder her
No.
pants almost fell down. Her shorts were 6 inches, legitimately 6 whole inches. So it's like we grew up in that time. So
Yeah.
I think all millennial women have some sort of body issue
Mhm.
just because that's what was in vogue when we were kids.
Yeah, I've definitely had to work or like, mirror work and dry brushing and just like different, like how I communicate, the language I use with my body. It's definitely had to take some like conscious effort because instead of like
Oh, yeah.
looking at and like being super critical of my body that does so much miraculous things for me. And then, I mean, like here's birth babies and like does like,
Yeah.
and like all these like dramatic shifts and lifts heavy things and like all these
Oh, yeah.
incredible things. I forgot where I was going to go. Oh, I was thinking of, I don't know, maybe several months ago, I was looking through my phone at old pictures and I was like, wow, I remember thinking then that I looked fat and like and it's
Oh,
just,
yeah.
and like the amount of compassion now that I have for her is just like dramatically shifted and it helps me when I look at myself in the mirror today and how I talk to myself because I'm like, okay, if I was thinking that then I'm looking at this photo and I'm like, I was thin as fuck. Like,
Yeah, it's
how
like,
did
I
I
look good. Oh, well, have you done that with pictures of yourself from, like, high school and college too, when
yeah,
we
yeah.
all
Yeah,
thought
that's what I'm
we
saying, like
were
college or like,
yeah,
early 20s or
yeah. It's
and so
like,
I was
"I
like,
look good." I'm like, "Why did I think I was fat?" It's
yeah,
because
I'm like, where did I get that?
yeah.
Just like that, it's like that whole mental skew. It's interesting. I want you to share too, like real quick, if you have time about like the exciting things that you're doing now and what else has
Yes.
opened up for you or anything else you want to drop in.
Let me show you
Yeah,
something.
please do.
Let me show you. So, I have a fun story.
Yes.
Yes. So, let me put my crown box down. Okay. So, back in 2024,
How
it
cool.
doesn't it doesn't go really with the headphones, but, so
It can. I know.
So I will say I've always wanted to do pageants,
Mhm,
but girls that grow up like us with not a lot of funds and resources, they don't get to do those things because
mhm,
they take funds and resources. At the beginning of 2024, my father-in-law just passed away, and my husband
mhm.
asked me like, "What is something crazy you would want to do?" And I said, "Well, I'd love to try pageants, but I don't. I think they have them for married ladies, but I don't really know a lot about it." And so I Googled married women beauty pageants,
Mm.
found one in a couple of months later, got some coaching, did not place at all, but had a fabulous time. Had a fabulous time and decided like, oh, I think I'll try this again. I'll try it again.
First off, I wanna
And
commend you from going from, very socially awkward or anxious to, like, a willingness to try new things and put yourself
yeah,
in new environments, and that's a big shift too.
well, it's a part of, and that's why I do the podcast and I do the pageant. This is a fulfillment of the promise I made to God.
Yeah.
This this is not about me at
Mm,
all. It's
mm,
about what this brings, what it amplifies. It helps me share my story because we are all so fascinated with shiny objects right now
mm,
that this is an amplifier.
mm,
My message
mhm,
is powerful, but this makes it louder.
mm.
And that's why I do it. Because otherwise I am your fellow introvert. I would love to just like sit in the back and like do this and like, hey, what's up, guys? Nice to see you. Um, that's not what I said I'd do. I said I would help
Mhm,
other
mm,
people. And in order to help other people, you have to open your mouth. Yeah. And honestly, 2024 was not a good year for us. I had a terrible mental health break from reality. And if I hadn't had a 2025 pageant that I had already entered to focus on,
mm,
I would still be here, but I don't know what kind of shape I would be in.
mm,
So pageant have they gave me something to focus on
mhm,
so I could have a this is gonna sound bad, but you're I had a reason to get better, but it
mhm,
was it was another reason beside my kids and my husband. It was
mhm.
something like it was a goal to win a pageant. And actually funny thing, the pageant I was planning on doing the last time we spoke, it actually got pushed back.
Mm.
And so I was like, well, this goal that I've had for 6 months, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do? Magically, this pageant system that I had originally wanted to do. It's called Universal Miss. It's who Miss Southwest Universal Miss. I should probably know the name of my title. I am. Let's just bust out the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? YOLO. I am Miss Southwest Universal Elite Miss. Yeah, that's not long or anything. No, no. But I had originally wanted to do this one, but it was going to be in Marshall, Texas, of all
Oh,
places.
wow.
And I was like, I'm not going to Marshall to be in a pageant. But they ended up having to move it to be in Kingwood, which is here in the Houston area.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, this is just a great coincidence. This is an hour from home. My dad can watch the kids. This is a great thing. We'll just do this one. And I worked really hard. I had already worked hard for the first pageant that I wanted to do that was supposed to be the same weekend. So I already had all the coaching, all the preparation, and I just went in. They're giving away 2 titles, and I happened to get one of them.
Mm.
So it was meant to be. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, here's my crown. Isn't it cool? It's got
That's
the
cool.
it's got the for Universal
Yeah,
Myth.
it's
Yeah.
to me, it
Yeah.
speaks volumes to like, okay, sometimes when those things happen to ourselves, I truly believe all things work out for good. And so even if I can't see it in that moment, and so it's like that moment, like, if it gets, pushed back or something gets canceled or some things shift, it's like, maybe all that stuff had to go happen or like, and then preparation is longer so that you could bring home that and title and share your message or amplify your message more. It's like we only have, privy knowledge to a limited number of elements.
We
And
only know what's in front of us. We
yeah,
can't see what's beyond.
yeah. I'm curious, is there anything that you would whisper to like to the woman that woke up with vomit on her hair or to the floor or like anyone that's just starting on like a sobriety journey? Like, is there something that you would share with them or her?
Oh, you got this. You
Mm.
are Be your authentic self. You got this because you do. If you want it, you've got it.
I think
And
authenticity is so important and it's what resonates and then like the, vulnerability. And I just want to thank you too for coming on and like being vulnerable and open because it's scary, but it's also so courageous. And I think that stories are echoes and mirrors for us. And like, who knows who's listening to it that it could help
right.
dramatically impact. I mean, that's your message. So like you get it. Yeah, so thank you for coming on and being vulnerable and open. Is there any
You're
way, or is there
welcome.
any like thing that you want to drop, like on social media or website?
Sure. So my Instagram is Emily C. Bonds, and so is my TikTok, same thing. And my little website, it's emilycbonds.com.
Awesome.
You can reach me through there.
Oh yeah.
And national pageant is going to be in Allen for a
Oh,
Universal Miss. It's the 22nd through the 27th, I believe. And finals will be the last day of the pageants.
February,
Yeah,
March, or when?
June, June,
June. Okay,
June.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I should know that too. I
No,
should
no. I
probably
mean,
know
I
that
just
before I
like in a
go.
few days. I was like, honey, it's the 19th. I'm not, I
No,
didn't know.
no, but I just ordered some things for the pageant off Poshmark, and I feel like
Cool.
I'm like, look at me, I'm sustainable fashion. I
Heck
got it off
yes.
Poshmark.
I just recently, I went vintage shopping on Saturday. I'll throw this in here because I saw a video on TikTok about dopamine dressing or
Oh,
like just dressing. For me, it's like, okay, that future about self or vision. I'm like, how does she dress? How does she move in the world? She doesn't rush, so she walks slower, but she wears things that makes her light up and happy.
yeah.
And so
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like she wears more color. So I went and got like little pieces. So I think that stuff's fun and like I'm all for anything that like puts a
Yeah.
smile on my face or helps my mental
Well,
health.
and I have found this one Calvin Klein dress that I now have it in about 5 different colors
Mm-hmm.
because I know what size I need now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going on Poshmark and buy okay, here it is in white. I'll pay like $30. Here it is
Mm-hmm.
in black. $15. Yes, I'll take that. So like it's great. I love Poshmark and I've never heard of dopamine dressing. Not gonna lie, kind of sounds like a weird salad, but I'm gonna try that. Think about
I
what
told it
future me.
I wore some cheetah to a yoga class Monday and
Oh, I love that.
my instructor, she's like, I love what you're wearing. I'm like, yeah, I'm calling it like I'm trying dopamine dress. She's like, I just call that getting dressed in the morning.
Ooh,
I was like,
that's
well,
better.
whatever it's called, I'm digging it because
I love that.
we highly recommend things that
Yeah.
light you up and like clearing of the old. Like I got rid of some, I just see it as like clearing space for more new to come into. Like, and I mean that also as like new experiences or more abundance or things like that. More crowns, who knows? Like,
That would be great. That would
well,
be
well, keep me
great.
posted.
Oh, I will.
And
I
I'll
will.
let you
And I'm
know when all
gonna,
this like goes live and stuff too.
okay, cool. Cause I'm gonna start posting again. I've had to take a little break from social media just for my own
Totally get that.
life.
Highly
But
recommend. But while you're
yeah.
at it, like, subscribe, and
Yeah. While you're at it, like and
share.
subscribe. But I'm gonna go back to posting probably daily in March,
For
early
sure.
March, but I don't wanna make that a hard, fast rule. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just needed a break because I had a tumultuous January. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's the right word. I had a crazy January and I was getting ready for the pageant and then I won. And so I've needed just some like time to like,
Yeah, for sure. And I totally subscribed more to, at least this year, I felt like I'm still in winter. My new thing that I'm gonna launch, that's gonna wait till the springtime. Like if you
yeah.
think about seasonal or cyclical living, like there's so much like, pressure to have like everything that we want to do, like Gen 1, or have that certain energy. So I just like to give
Well,
permission
and
that
isn't Easter this year like something
is
in late
it?
February?
Is Easter
It's
late February?
Yeah, Easter is like at a
Come on,
weird
Jesus.
time this year. I
No,
know.
no.
I know. It's like,
Yeshua, I mean?
okay,
Yeah.
so Easter is, the Ash Wednesday is the 5th. So that means that
Okay.
Good Friday's the 7th. So like it's one of those time when it's early again.
Wait, let me see.
I
It's
hate that. Because I'm like, why is it
when
so
is
freaking early?
it?
Well, Ash Wednesday is the 5th. So that makes me think that Easter, when is Easter?
I'm just yeah.
Oh, it's the 20th. I don't know why.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought it was I thought
Oh,
it was
Easter's
in
on 420. How funny.
Oh, that is funny. For some
Now I
reason,
just
I
have like
thought
a
Easter
little
was
image
in
of
March.
Jesus smoking a doobie.
Wow. Oh, well, they put that in ChatGPT and she so it shows up.
Yeah.
I don't know, for some reason, I thought that I don't know why I thought that was in February. Oh my
What is
gosh, Emily,
time,
brain fart.
girl? And I'm
Time, what
like,
is time? What is time? What is time?
we're transcending it. No. Yeah.
We've gotten very new age on this podcast
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop this.